quick brown fox jumped over the lazy dog. It's where we all begin. Welcome to Lazy Dog Typewriters.
In Peter Pan, the entrance to Neverland is described as being the second star to the right and straight on till morning. There you'll find Captain Hook, Tinker Bell, the Indians, the Lost Boys, mermaids, and a certain hungry crocodile, and the ageless, timeless Peter Pan. The Tower Constellation is the second star to the right. Join us now as we enter this land of Neverland of Typers.
And howdy folks, and welcome to Lazy Dog Typewriters, where what you see before you is the gates to Neverland. Really, this is a Tower Constellation, and along with the constellation we have the Lost Boys, Captain Hook, that evil crocodile, Tinker Bell, and Peter Pan himself. And we are calling this constellation, of course, Peter Pan's Typewriter, because it is a little bit like that second star to the right, to go follow after and to look for a beautiful machine like this. It's the end of the line for the Tower brand from Sears. The very next year they put out their machines under their own Sears brand name, and it's kind of the end of the line for the Model 5 for Smith Corona, because of course Smith Corona was a manufacturer of these machines. Let's take a look at the styling first and foremost. We have what we've talked about before in our Jetsons video, Googie styling. So you have an angular ribbon cover, we've got the Tower branding, you've got our touch selector on the left, and as we continue around, kind of in juxtaposition with the angular Model 6 styling of the typewriter, we have retained, for one last hurrah, the Model 5 backplate. So it's a 12-inch, which is a little less common, but we've also retained, and we'll get a little bit out of the way, we've retained our traditional Model 5 carriage return lever and our traditional and beloved metal carriage release levers, which are so much more durable. But we have changed to the Model 6, and her 5.5, if you will, knobs, platen knobs, and tension release button here. So we still have the button, that goes away a little bit later. And we have, as always, the standard pop-up paper bail. We've got the Tower branding, which of course is special because it goes away. A 12-inch carriage, as I mentioned. We have our rollers, and we have that oh-so-quaint combination of the paper bail and the feed paper fingers, right? So it's the belt and suspenders approach to keeping the paper compressed against the platen. And as we can see, if we look carefully, we go out to 110 on this carriage. Normally you would think that would be an Elite, but remember this is a 12-inch carriage, so that means in this case it is a pica. We have a pica typeface. Alright, we have the Model 6 frontispiece, if you will. We have the big, large, clear and set tab selector. We have our ribbon color selector, white, blue, and red, white being stencil, which even at this point was probably on its way out. As I mentioned, I think this was a 1961 model, and that's best guess because they only made it from 61 to 63, and our database doesn't give us a precise sequence of numbers, and it looked like a low one to me, so I guessed. We're right at, looks like 103,921, and I'm guessing it started at 100,000, just a complete guess. But that would indicate 1961. We have all of our standard features on this segment shift machine with our standard ribbon spools and ribbon advance mechanism. Just a really tried and true mechanism for the typewriter that was produced by Smith Corona. As I mentioned, we have our touch control, has a little red knob. Sometimes these are bright blue, sometimes they're different colors. It has a little bit of an effect on the tension on the keys, so it has a tiny effect on what your keystrokes feel like to you when you're typing, as we've covered before. So I really like the two-tone coloration of this, and as I mentioned, this is essentially a Tower President 12. But the President 12, as we reviewed before, we had a beautiful script model of that. It didn't have the Model 6 ribbon cover. Now, I guess the cynic will say, well, because they ran out of those parts and they had to start using the Model 6 parts when they were running out the parts for the Smith Corona. That's what folks like Ted Monk have described. But I think I'm a little more romantic, I guess, and I like the combination this transition period, kind of like the transition of these two colors, right? You've got a cream transitioning to baby blue, and we are transitioning from the old Model 5 into the new Model 6, and I just like that. I like how it works. I like the continuity. I like the Constellation, if you will. Okay, so we've covered a lot of this stuff before. We have a really nice wide space bar. This is a wonderful machine to type on. Your standard sort of bucket keys. From a repair point of view, this is a great machine because it comes apart with just a very few number of screws. You've got two main pieces, this little piece and the back piece, and you're done in terms of accessing everything. Of course, a ribbon cover connected at the top as well. So just a nice all-around machine, as you would expect a machine that has lived up to the end of the line, basically, and the start of a new one, level number 6. The ones that follow this, we ended up getting very shortly after this. We have the last hurrah, which is the Sterling, the 5AX Sterlings. That's the last hurrah of the Model 5 design. And then we go into the full Model 6s, if you will. So that's the Super Sterling and others. And they're not my favorite design aesthetic. I still prefer this sort of combination of the two, or the Googie styling with this angular Star Trekian widgets, if you will, on the ribbon cover, and the typing touch, which we'll get to in just a minute, is truly just really good. So let's hang on just a second and look at the case. Okay, it's probably appropriate that the case itself is a hybrid. So you have this kind of a coppery metallic skin on the case, and this nice broad band across the middle, belly band, if you will. This is seen similarly on the early Galaxy models, which were coming out about this time. So it's a very nice wide base here at the bottom, which is really robust, even better, I think, than the pegs, which came in later. And it still retains the holiday case. Get it open. It retains the holiday case internals. So, of course, you can push down on this lever and remove the central locking piece. It retains the old Silent Super. It's all the Silent Super mechanism, but in this case, no pun intended, set up for a 12-inch carriage. That's why it's wider. It doesn't have the later guides which occur here on the side that the Sterlings have that center the carriage. So you still use the carriage centering mechanism here when you're putting it away to center the carriage, because there is no other way to get that carriage in the right place and to release the escapement and protect that near and dear escapement rack. So just really neat. I like the color, the metallicness of it. It might be one of my favorite cases. And again, it's because you have the combination of the old and the new. And I guess in a way that's what our Peter Pan analogy is all about for this machine, right? It never grows old. It always stays the same. Just like Peter Pan, this Constellation is timeless and one for the ages. So with that thought, let's take a quick typing test, and then we'll be on our way chasing Tinkerbell and trying to avoid that crocodile. Well, you may notice I've done quite a bit of typing. That's because we had a technology problem, not with the typewriter, but with the cameraman. So let's do it again real quickly. 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth this nation. Alright. So just the smooth typing touch you've come to expect from the Model 5, and just well executed. It hasn't changed much in all the time. The keycaps are cupped and are very comfortable. A lot of consonants there, but it's just a great machine. Let's quickly run down the pros. Well, the pros, it's got classic Model 5 styling with that Googie style, this angular style. Makes it look very much like the 1960s. Proven performer with great touch. It has a very cool case. It's somewhat rare, having only been made for 2 years. This is a time of turning over from the Model 5 to the Model 6. The cons: if you hate the number 12 and you hate a 12-inch wide carriage more seriously, you might not like it, because this does have a little bit wider carriage than normal. It doesn't have the change type keys, which were just about to be introduced at this time, so you can't replace the 1 or the plus equals, but it has a 1 and a plus equals, which is kind of a bonus of this era. And other than that, I can't think of anything not to like about this machine. It has a cool case, it has a cool cover, it has a cool brand, it types well, it's reliable, comes apart easily for cleaning. It's just a fantastic machine, and I hope you can find one. Thanks so much for joining us on this voyage to explore Peter Pan Welcome to the Neverland of typewriters, and we hope that you wish upon a star on your own and find one of these machines in your own constellation. Take care.